depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of voice for radio. So today, well, we need to take another look at the rotation, alright? And the thing is that this rotation is a big one. This is a huge rotation. It is an extremely important rotation. We went through the other day exactly what the rotation is and all of that. But now we need to look at all of the cards which are going away. Now, in this video, the goal is to basically run through very quickly all of the important cards that are going and why they were important. There are plenty of cards that you will have seen over the past couple of years that you're not going to see here. Take something like Celebi and Venusaur. There was a 3-month period where Celebi and Venusaur was one of the top decks in the game. And then it disappeared off the map and we haven't really seen it since. So there are going to be cards that I don't mention in this video that you probably think I should have. All I can tell you is, if you genuinely think it's a mistake, pop it down in the comment section. But most likely, it's just that that card hasn't seen enough play in the past couple of months for me to put it on this list while keeping the video to a reasonable length. So starting off then, let's start off with Team Up. We will be going set by set here, and largely in set order, that makes the most sense. We are losing Shaymin Prism Star. For what it's worth, all of the Prism Stars are going away. Shaymin Prism Star did 30 damage for each basic energy attached to all of your Pokemon. That was a good tech in a bunch of decks. Pikachu and Zekrom has long been one of the very best cards in the entire game because 150 and accelerate free energy, 200 damage plus 170 to the bench. It has survived every new set that came, but it cannot survive a rotation. We are losing Tapu Koko Prism Star, which obviously has been amazing for accelerating energy using its ability to those lightning Pokemon. We are losing Mimikyu and Gengar, which has been a nice little, Gengar and Mimikyu I think it actually is, which has been a really nice little card just to punish people for having too many trainer cards in their hand. And along those lines, one of its best partners, Omastar, is going away. That was a nice brand of item lock if you could have fewer Pokemon in play than your opponent. Absol is going away. That was a really good card that increased the retreat cost of basic Pokemon. Yveltal is actually turning into a pretty big loss. It's a free retreater that could get rid of special energy or stop your opponent retreating. Started to be coming back as a tech in recent times. Jirachi is one of the biggest losses in the entire rotation. Its Stellar Wish ability, letting you grab a trainer from the top 5 cards of your deck, really has been absolutely phenomenal since the second it came out. People thought that with a skateboard going away, it might lose some of its luster. It did not. And then Bronzong was always a nice tech to basically stop your opponent completely using fire Pokemon. It did propel a couple of Australian players to the finals of the First Players Cup, but hasn't really seen sustained success since then. Moving into the trainer cards for Team Up, we're losing Bill's Analysis, and admittedly that hasn't seen a huge amount of play lately, but it let you dig for a couple of trainer cards. It was kind of cool. Black Market Prism Star stopped Darkness Pokemon giving up one prize if you had Darkness Energy attached. It was a staple in all Darkness decks. Brock's Grit has been phenomenal recovery for Pokemon and energy and will be missed by a lot of decks. Erica's Hospitality was never the biggest draw card in the game, but it was a nice fringe draw card that made its way into a whole bunch of decks. Buff Padding gave an extra 50 HP to Pokemon with a retreat cost of 4. Basic Pokemon don't care because Cape of Toughness is a thing, but evolved Pokemon with high retreat cost really are going to miss it. Metal Goggles reduced damage done by 30 damage to the metal Pokemon it's attached to and stop damage counters being dropped. This is going to be a huge loss for metal decks moving forward. Dangerous Drill has seen a bunch of play and success lately as a one-off in these Darkness decks because it lets you get rid of special energy or stadium cards and tools, which is pretty cool. Pokemon Communication is one of the very best Pokemon search cards in the entire game. An awful lot of decks used it. And similarly, Viridian Forest was a stadium that let you search out basic energy. Great for decks that wanted to play 1 or 2 random energy. and we are now not going to have it anymore. And finally, Wondrous Labyrinth Prism Star. It increased the cost of attacking for non-fairy Pokemon by 1, but there were decks like Centiskorch that didn't mind overpaying that would use this despite not being fairy Pokemon. Moving over into Unbroken Bonds, the first loss is one of the biggest. It's Reshiram and Charizard. This has been a phenomenal card for pretty much the entire time it's been out. Really efficient. It's been a great card. We're also losing Volcanion, which has been good both for setting up those fire decks in the early game, as well as being a good single prize Pokemon to go along with them. Blacephalon seemed like a bit of a joke that could work when it came out. Ended up being one of the best decks in the format for the entire time it was legal. Turns out being able to get a one-hit KO on anything, pretty good. Dedenne GX is another one of those cards which is just one of the biggest losses we're going to see to the rotation. A basic Pokemon that's easily searched out that lets you discard your hand and draw 6 cards. So good for early game speed and consistency. Muck and Alolan Muck was not a powerhouse card. It was one, and we're going to see a few of these. One of these cards that really was only good in Mewtwo and Mew decks, but it had some nice attacks and some good utility. Speaking of which, we're losing Mewtwo and we're losing Mew. Mewtwo, put a supporter card from your discard pile on top of your deck, and you could either draw it now with Oranguru or just leave it there to top deck next turn. And we're losing Mew, which protected your bench, which is actually huge moving forward because Rapid Strike Urshifu hits 120 to 2 Pokemon. Now that Mew is going away, Rapid Strike Urshifu has gotten a billion times better. We are losing that Marshadow, which is really quite good for taking out your opponent's stadiums. Sits there, waits, takes it out when a stadium comes into play. We are losing Spiritomb, which has been just a ridiculous single prize attacker and one of my very favourite cards for the entire time it was out. Honchkrow, again, is one of those Pokemon that really has been constrained to Mewtwo and Mew decks, but it's got a really nice GX attack for hand disruption. Lucario and Melmetal seems to have fallen slightly out of favour since Battle Styles came out, but it protected all of your metal Pokemon. It was energy denial. It was phenomenal with Zacian. Both of the decks in the first Players' Cup were Zacian Luke Metal decks. It made a huge impact. And then finally, we're losing Porygon Z, the card that let you attach as much special energy during your turn as you liked. And for most of the time it was legal, it sat there as a really enticing option. But just recently, since Shining Fates came out, it has proven to be a top-tier deck with Cramorant, just in time to rotate out. Moving over into trainer cards, we are losing Chip Chip Ice Axe, that annoying card that let you fix the top card of your opponent's deck. We are losing Electromagnetic Radar, which was really good for lightning decks, although admittedly the fact that we are losing all of the GXs kind of ruined that as well. Energy Spinner was a great card for searching out energy, especially turn 1 going second. Fire Crystal was a great card for recovering fire energy, all gone. Green's Exploration basically said if you didn't play abilities, you can search any 2 trainer cards. It was the engine for a lot of successful decks. Lieutenant Surge's Strategy let you play 2 supporters if you were behind. Always really good for control decks. Martial Arts Dojo did extra damage if you were playing basic fighting energy. It was great for fighting decks. Pokegear just let you find your supporters more easily. That was always a good thing. Power Plant turned off abilities of GX Pokemon, although again, the fact that all the GXs are rotating out would have made this one kind of pointless anyway. Welder is another one of those cards that will go down as one of the very biggest losses from the rotation. Being able to accelerate 2 energy while drawing 3 cards, it made almost any fire deck good for the past couple of years. It really was an absolute powerhouse. And we are losing Triple Acceleration Energy, which was really nice just for, well, paying energy cost on evolved Pokemon, basically. Moving over to Unified Minds, we are losing Rowlet and the Alolan Executor. Let you for 0 energy just evolve up a grass Pokemon on the bench. It was really nice for Rillaboom decks, though they never quite broke through, but it is going to be missed. Heatran GX was an absolute must-play in every fire deck because of its good GX attack and just efficient first attack. Cryogonal's a bit of a weird one that a lot of people don't take seriously because it doesn't do almost any damage, but its nice item lock and has still, up till now, been sneaking into decks here and there. Raichu and Alolan Raichu has been an absolute must-play in Lightning decks. It gets paralysis. It's been really good. Mewtwo and Mew, I've already mentioned a couple of times. It's been one of the best decks the entire time it's been out. Copies any EX or GX's attacks either in play or in the discard. It's been a long time since we've seen a deck this adaptable, and it's probably going to be a long time until we see one again. Jinx lets you move damage counters around your side of the field, which has been awesome in Spiritomb decks. Jirachi GX saw almost no play for a very long time, but now that Urshifu has come around, Jirachi GX has become pretty much a staple again, just in time to get rotated. Giratina has seen a whole bunch of play because it can get rid of special energy, which is kind of cool. And for me, the biggest loss in the entire rotation is Excadrill. I need a new pet deck. Excadrill has been my pet deck for the past 2 formats. This format on its own, last format with Spiritomb. So for the first time in 3 years, I've got to find a new pet deck, and I am struggling, ladies and gentlemen. Weavile GX has been a fringe card the whole time it's been out, but it lets you move Darkness Energy around, and it has been here and there. Morile GX has been absolutely just crucial in ADP decks, because ADP takes extra prizes when it attacks, so it lets you boss's orders 2 weak 2 prize Pokemon off the bench. It forces your opponent to bench them. It's been awesome. Naganadel GX has, again, been one of those Pokemon that has seen a bunch of play because of Mewtwo and Mew. Snipes a bench, pretty gosh darn good. And Munchlax has been a good card because it can get any card back from the discard. That seems pretty gosh darn good to me. Okay, fine, it's on a coin flip and end your turn, but still, you can get any card back. Over in the trainer cards, we are losing Cherish Ball. Search for any GX, but again, the GX is going away, is going to hurt it. Giant Half, which is really good for getting your fire energy, is going away. Karate Belt, reducing the cost of fighting Pokemon when you're behind on prizes, has been really good. Pokemon Research Lab, okay, hasn't been amazing, but it's the best attempt Pokemon have had in years to make fossil Pokemon playable, and it did work a little bit. Reset Stamp is one of the very biggest losses we are going to see for the rotation because, well, it's the best comeback card in the game, quite frankly. It's phenomenal. Slumbering Forest makes you flip twice to wake up from sleep. It's been good in sleep decks. U-Turn Board has been really good for helping retreats. Plus, it goes back to your hand if it's discarded from play. Speaking of which, Recycle Energy, which goes back to your hand if discarded from play, has seen play here and there. And Weakness Guard Energy to get rid of your weakness has been pretty big. Finishing off with the main sets, Cosmic Eclipse is going away, and we've lost Vileplume GX. Although again, this is another one of those which has only really seen play in Mewtwo and Mew. Great early game attack, 2 energy, 180, as long as you're not damaged. Fiona has been a really good card to force your opponent to switch their active, as well as make sure that you literally cannot deck out. Magneton lets you KO it so that you can search any free supporters, but one of them is going to be Lieutenant Surge's strategy, and the other 2 you can play immediately using Lieutenant Surge's strategy because you're behind on prizes, because you blew up Magneton. It's been pretty good. Speaking of taking advantage of being KO'd, Oricorio GX lets you draw free cards if you had a Pokemon KO'd last turn. That's seen play in a whole bunch of decks. Mimikyu has just come back into fashion. Arguably slightly too late, because it's a really nice counter to Mewtwo and Mew. If there's any damage counters on, you use Galarian Zigzagoon to make sure there are. It turns off the ability. It is a very powerful card now that Mewtwo and Mew has become, with battle styles coming out, a phenomenal card. Now, when I mentioned Unified Minds, I talked about the wrong Excadrill. There was a note on the screen. So let's just flick the Excadrill around. The one I talked about before was from Cosmic Eclipse. The one from Unified Minds allows you to get 4 cards from your discard back into your deck. It's been a really good control deck over the past few months. That one will also be missed. Both Excadrill are going. I'm sorry I talked about them in the wrong order. Arcus and Algar and Palkia is the card that most people are going to be happy to see go because, well, you take an extra prize every time you take a KO. There are so many games which are just altered creation, bosses orders 2 little Pokemon. That's entirely the game. That's literally the entire game. With Zacian, it's been the best deck in the format for a while. I am one of those people that is delighted to see it go, because frankly, every good single prize deck that I have made in the past couple years has taken a pretty hard loss to ADP decks. And finally, Silvally GX, decent attacks, but mostly here for the ability to let you draw until you've got 5 cards in your hand. Over in the trainer cards, we've got Chaotic Swell, which is pretty much the ultimate counter stadium, which is pretty gosh darn good. Cynthia and Caitlyn draws cards while recovering supporters. That has been huge. Great Catcher is item-based gusting, only on GXs, but still item-based gusting. Guzma and Hala searches out, amongst other things, Special Energy, which is pretty gosh darn good. Lily's Pokédoll is an item which is also a Pokemon but doesn't give up a prize. Great for buying time. Mallow and Lana has been a really good healing supporter, which has ruined a lot of games for a lot of people. Rosa searches a Pokemon trainer and energy when you have a Pokemon KO'd, which is really good for setup and slower decks. Roxy and Weezing has a combination, spreads damage while drawing cards. It's not my favourite combo, but a bunch of people have used it. And Tag Call searches out tag team Pokemon and supporters. Again, it's been pretty much entirely pointless because, you know, tag teams are all rotating out. Now, Hidden Fates isn't the biggest set ever in terms of cards, but there are a couple worth noting. The Family Charizard GX is rotating out, although again, this has only really seen play because of Mewtwo and Mew. 4 energy 300 means go first, and as long as you get a welder turn 2, you can actually get a turn 2 300 to KO an opposing tag team. It's been pretty gosh darn good. And then we've got Jesse and James and Weezing, which has been really good. Hand Disruption, again, those control decks are going to miss them. Over in Detective Pikachu, there is nothing. You could argue the Mr. Mime that lets you kind of rearrange your prizes a little bit, but honestly, ever since Jirachi Prism Star rotated out, that just hasn't seen any play at all. So I think Detective Pikachu, we can say, is a set we are not really going to miss. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen, a whistle-stop tour through the entire rotation. There are almost certainly cards that you loved and you played and you are sad to see go that I didn't mention. I made a pretty long shortlist here of cards which I think are genuinely going to be missed. If I left off one of your favourites, I'm sorry, but hey, there is a comment section. Maybe you should tell me down there. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.